we've been your job search besties and helped you in some way, there's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
We get a huge kick out of reading all of your success stories. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss and shout us a cuppa.
If you keep us caffeinated, we can keep the content coming. If you didn't want to be involved, can you give us a mock example of how do you say get stuffed in a polite way?
I would just not return the call.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma. I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you all the tips, tricks and behind the scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey Em, and welcome back everyone. We are always telling you to shoot your shot. So in every episode, we tell you about a listener who's already done that. This episode, we're shouting out Ty, who bought us a coffee to support the show.
Ty said, at 34, I thought that I was doomed to manage convenience stores for the rest of my life, as it's all I've ever done. But my desire to make a change was strong, so I prepared myself as well as I could, which led me to your podcast. After months of countless applications and rejections, I finally got offered my dream sales job in a field that is convenience store adjacent. Let this be a lesson that the advice you guys dispense is universal and not just for the academic world. If I can do it, anyone can. And if you feel stuck, do something about it. Thanks, Interview Boss.
Oh, I love this so much.
We are certainly not just for the corporate world.
No, we're not. We may give more examples for that because I do think that that is probably the majority of our listeners and a lot of the examples that we kind of get in and probably our experiences personally. But it's definitely not for one country, for one type of job, for one industry. It is absolutely universally relevant, I think. And Ty, I love how you wrote that first line, doomed to manage convenience stores for the rest of my life at 34. Like, that's a long time. That's a long time to do anything.
That's a big belief to unpack. And I love how powerful this is. Changes can always be made. You're always one decision away from changing your entire life. I love it.
So inspirational with the quotes. Also, can I just point out, please, this is a bit of a learning moment for anyone making a big career move, convenience store adjacent in the sales role. I bet that that helped get that job, because even though the job that you're doing might be pretty much nothing to do with, you know, the new job, sure, you've got transferable skills, but they're not necessarily looking at all of those. Really understanding how convenience stores work might be really helpful in this industry.
Might be really convenient. For sure. Customer service skills, like stock, upselling the chocolates at the register, you know? It all comes in handy.
Emma doesn't understand the industries that might be convenience store adjacent.
No.
I think we just all learned there together.
No, but I'm talking about when he was in the convenience store, that those skills will help him in his next role.
Yeah, my point was that there's like transferable skills are great, but when you're making a career change, sometimes having the industry be in the same area will make it more likely that they'll consider your transferable skills, because it gives them at least one box that you're kind of ticking is like, yeah, you understand what we do here. But yeah, sure, you know, upselling the chocolates, go for it.
Well, they do always ask you. It's 2 for $10 today if you'd like an extra one. Yes, I would.
Those are some hardcore sales skills. Do they get you, Emma? Are you always buying 2 for $10?
Yeah, always. Now, before we get into this episode, if you need more help than we can fit in a podcast, go check out our website for free templates, coaching services, and our interview academy. Today, we are talking about participating in an exit interview, giving feedback after you've left a job.
And I think it's like not really an official exit interview that we're talking about. It's like post-exit, like after you've left and then you're getting a reach out. So we had a question from Judy.
She said, "Hi ladies, I'm a huge fan of your show and have put a lot of my family and friends onto your show as well. You've helped me gain a promotion and 2 new positions since listening to you all. That said, I've come here for a little advice. About 8 months ago, I left a position for a new company because I was very unhappy in my current role. There was a lot of sexism and a lot of disorganization within the group. This company is very well known in the area I'm from, and a lot of people in my current company left that company to come here. That said, I try my best to not speak poorly on them, but I do say it wasn't my best experience. I recently got a voicemail from HR from the company that I left and was mistreated at. They wanted my feedback on my experience due to recent light that's been shed in the group I was in, and they want to investigate more. How would you approach this in order to give valuable feedback that would actually make a positive change?" I just know Judy would have been so satisfied to have HR call her and be like, "Yeah, you're finally catching on now, but it's too late.
You lost me and there's nothing you can do about it." Yeah. And I really get the sense that Judy handled herself very well in all of this. Did you feel like that as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, diplomatically.
Judy is always classy, I think.
Judy is Switzerland.
Well, Switzerland's about to be asked to take the stand. So what are my reactions? The first thing I think about is that you don't owe them anything. And it is totally valid to choose to just stay out of it, to just be like, I'm just going to let the past stay in the past and I don't want a bar of it. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to participate in an exit interview when you're still in the company in your notice period, and you certainly don't have to post-exit either. But Judy did say she was interested in making change and she does want to give feedback. So I just thought I would share that for anyone else.
If you didn't want to be involved, can you give us a mock example of, how do you say, get stuffed in a polite way?
I would just not return the call, personally. I think that's just easier. Like, you don't even owe them a response to their phone call because, like, you're my previous company. Like, I just don't even owe you reaching back out to tell you that I'm not interested in coming back to you. But if you wanted to reply, you could say, "Hey, thanks for reaching out. Look, I'd prefer not to be involved. I'm sure you can get the feedback you need speaking to other people. Glad to hear that you're looking into things."
Yeah, okay, good. But we can tell Judy wants to help bring some change. So let's talk about the risks she might face getting involved.
And I think this is not really, I don't want you to like really worry about this. It's just when I got the question and I was replying, I was thinking, why do I feel a tiny little bit suspicious? Like, if this was genuinely me, I would still be a little bit suspicious and I would just be a little bit guarded. And here's the stuff that's going through my mind. It's a small industry, I think she said, or it's a small something. Company's very well known in the area I'm from, right? So that kind of tells me that people know each other, that like there's lots of people from that company that currently work at her current workplace. Like, there's just, there's just a bit of crossover happening, which means things can get back to places. You also don't know what they're going to do with your feedback. I think it's really easy for me to imagine, because I've been in these kind of scenarios and I've shared this kind of feedback to say, hey, this is why this person was leaving. It sometimes, gets raised at executive or leadership sessions. They may not necessarily be saying, here's this person and here's exactly what they said, but it's just in general, like, hey, from some of our exit interviews, from some of the people who left, here's the feedback, here's the stuff that we've heard about. And so it might get taken to certain people. This employee told us this kind of feedback. These are the reasons why we're concerned about X and why we want to take some kind of action. And so if those people in the exec or the broader culture are kind of not great leaders, what are they going to do with that? Like, it could get back to the person you were talking about. They could kind of gossip about it a little bit. Does it damage your relationship with the company then and like the legacy that you've left? Because you've handled this in such a classy way. I would hate to see like your raw feedback, like which you were giving really in such good faith, be badly handled.
Not be passed on that way.
Yeah.
If it's passed on of like, here's everything Judy said, so-and-so is aggressive, this person's a terrible manager. And if they're the problematic ones in the room, I doubt they're going to all of a sudden take it on board in such a humble way. They're probably going to be a bit irritated. Do they then go, Judy, yeah, wow. Well, didn't she just have a laundry list of things, grievances, problematic?
And then suddenly it's like, oh, well, do we really care about what she said because she wasn't that good and blah, blah, blah. And they're making up excuses, right? So that's the stuff that's going through my head. But also, will they do anything with it? Will it be a bit of a waste of time and energy? Like, are we kind of bearing our soul?
Now, you and I fight about this.
Yeah.
I don't know what episode it was where we went to town about like, I want to let them know how evil they are. And
you
you
was
were like,
handing in your
why?
resignation because they were toxic. And
yeah. Sarah's like, just why would you bother? And I'm like, because it's wrong. And we had a bit of tension on that. But yeah, Sarah's very much.
She was like, her mental health was crashing and she had to get out. And I was like, you are not in the place. Like, that's not going to help you. You're not in the place to step back from it and actually give feedback.
No, but
in like a constructive way.
But it feels good.
It's going to get all emotional and it's not going to help them. They're not going to listen. Like that, in that case, it just really didn't feel worth it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm petty. I want them to know that they suck.
I know, but that's such a funny, like, you don't just want them to know that they suck. You want you telling them that they suck to change everything. Like, you want to reach in their brain and change them, and you can't.
No, I just want them to go, yep, true.
You want them to feel bad?
Yeah, I want them to suffer.
We talked about this in that episode.
Anyway.
You want them to suffer. I think that really says it all, honestly. You want them to suffer? I don't think that's a good reason to give feedback.
I suffered. Now it's your turn to suffer. It's a dog-eat-dog
I don't think that's
world.
a good reason to give feedback. If Judy is thinking that she wants them to suffer, I don't think she should say anything, honestly. I really don't. I think she should march that idea all the way to therapy because there's some shit to unpack. Hey, Interview Boss listeners, if the podcast just isn't doing it for you and you need way more help to prep for your next interview, we have the perfect thing for you. Interview Academy. Em, tell us all about it.
This is huge. This is the love child of Sarah after doing hundreds of one-on-one coaching sessions, finding out what people struggle with the most, common mistakes. Sarah has created the ultimate course that you can do in your own time, self-paced, heaps of modules, videos, interactive quizzes, a workbook that will become your Bible by the end that you can take with you into your interview, because if you're a long-time listener, you know that we endorse taking notes into your interview. It's a game changer.
Check out more about it at interviewboss.com.au/interview academy. So, what should she do? What are her tips? What should she think about? Here's how I would kind of approach it. She wants to give the feedback. She's a classy gal. I would call the HR person back and I would hear them out a little bit. And I would be maybe a little bit reserved about what I was going to say. I'd be like, I'm still not sure exactly how much I'm going to tell you or how I'm going to play this. I'm just going to hear what they are going to say to me up front. See if you can gauge how much they already know, how serious they are about investigating it or making change. Because I think you'll be able to pick up by the vibe of that phone call if the HR person is saying, yeah, okay, did you report to this manager? Oh, okay. And what was your experience like of them? Like, you can kind of be like, okay, they've already got a bit of an idea here. Like,
and I feel like you can sense too if they're trying to do like a box ticking exercise, like maybe it's in their company policy that if, you know, an influx of people have left at the same time, they need to reach out. I feel like you can tell if it's not genuine. And if it's like, yeah, we just wanted to see if you had any feedback to give. We noticed you left. Is there anything you wanted to pass on? And it's just really generic and vague.
Yep. That's very true. Whereas if it's coming from a, hey, we've had XYZ in this department that we're looking into. I know that you were in that department and you worked with these people. We've had complaints about this. Is that something you experienced? Is that something you saw? It's like, okay, this has already started. The ball is already rolling before it's gotten to this phone call. And I think that you're kind of able to like add into something rather than you being the one who's like, oh yeah, this is your first you've heard about it. Everything's terrible. That would make me feel a bit more comfortable.
Yeah. And you can also ask questions too. So remember, you're doing them a favor by giving this feedback.
Yeah, totally. I think you can say, what things are you looking into? Like, what are the concerns that you want to hear about the most? Or is there a particular person that you want feedback on? Like, ask clarifying questions about what it is that they want from you.
And when it comes to giving the feedback, prep some examples of situations that you were in or things that happened, because it's more helpful to talk about the response you got when you had to take a day off to look after your sick child, for example, rather than just saying they were really unsupportive. Your examples speak volumes, and then your words can't be used against you. Like,
yes, you've nailed it. That's exactly why.
If they go into that meeting with the execs and they say, yeah, look, well, Emma has proof of an email chain that when she said she needed the day off, you were really aggressive and, there's proof, whereas just saying Emma said you sucked and you never supported her and you were unavailable, you're throwing their behavior back at them.
And you're not making judgment statements or summarizing. You might say, look, I felt really unsupported, and look, let me give you a couple of examples to kind of explain what I'm talking about. When this happened, this XYZ was said. This is the other type of thing that I would see happen a lot, for example, and go through the example. Because then you're not having to say that was this type of behavior, that was this, they did this, it was sexist, it was whatever. You're saying they asked me to give proof of my sick child, but they never asked John to give proof of his sick child. Like, you're kind of showing them the sexism rather than saying they favoured certain employees or they would never give me a day off, or I think that's a much easier way to do it. Also, from an HR perspective, way more useful in terms of feedback, because you can look into it, right? Like, you can actually put that to the person. You can ask other people if they've had the same situation. You can mention the impact that those things had. That made me feel this way. That meant that I couldn't do this. That caused me to do X, Y, Z the next time. We're trying to keep these relatively factual. Like, when I say talk about the impact, I'm not saying, unload all of your feelings and how do you know what I mean? Like, we're not kind of reliving the moment.
We're cherry picking some examples.
Yeah, we are. And keeping them relatively factual so that it's practical for them.
If they call you and say, do you want to participate? You call them to have a bit of a screening call and suss the vibes, and then you decide like, okay, I do want to have this conversation. You could also schedule this for later, because you might want some time between finding out that this is a thing and then preparing your examples and reflecting, and you want to gather your thoughts. So don't feel obliged to talk on the spot.
Yeah, that is a very good tip. You could call them back and just get some details and suss out what's going on and just say, okay, can I call you back at a certain time? Because now is not a great time for me to get into it. I just wanted to see what this was about and what your interest was, but I'm happy to talk to you tomorrow after 5, whatever. Also, make it work for you as well. Again, you're doing them a favor by this. Don't be like awkwardly putting out your schedule just to do a call with them. I think you should also, in terms of giving feedback, consider what could be improved there to address some of the reasons that you left or some of the issues that you kind of noticed. And I think making it constructive and thinking about what could they do or what could they improve makes sure that you stay out of that kind of like, trauma dumping, like word vomit, like here's all the horrible things that happened to me kind of territory. Like, we're doing a couple of examples and then we're going into here's a couple of things that I think would really help. Like, really clear policies about when people are allowed to take leave. Like, I'm kind of running with the sick child thing. Like, that isn't even, what our listener wrote into us, but making it practical, I think, really helps.
And make sure you're comfortable with what you've said at the end of the day, even if nothing's done about it. You want to feel good about it and at peace.
Yep. And I kind of thought that there's a world where if you shared too much and you really unloaded and kind of went, this person did this and this person's like this and you have to get rid of this person, and like you vented and kind of like were a bit uncontrolled in what you said, and then nothing ever happened because of it, I think I would feel weird about that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's like you opened your heart and a bit of a rejection, and then also feeling then injustice, like you reached out, I opened up, and now you've ghosted me. It's like, yeah.
So I think keep it in the back of your mind, even if nothing gets done about this, or even if you never hear anything getting done, because stuff can be done and it wouldn't come back to you necessarily. You would just want to make sure that with that in mind, that you felt comfortable about the level that you shared and what you talked about.
Yes. So overall, with Judy's situation, it sounds like they are genuinely interested in getting some insight, which is great. And remember that, Judy, you're in a great position being already settled where you are. If this came at a time where you were still job searching or it was quite fresh after you'd left, it might be a bit trickier. There's probably more raw feelings there, but you're in your lane, you're thriving, you're flourishing. You're in a good position to choose whether this suits you and is going to help you or not. And an important disclaimer is to just remember company culture can often be an issue that filters down from the top. So go into it knowing there's a good chance nothing will happen, or it's a good chance the problem is who you're speaking to or one of the people at the top that the problems will be reported to, and therefore nothing might happen.
Totally. Or that maybe something will happen and they'll shift their views about that person, but it'll be so micro, tiny, inconsequential that you won't even ever hear about it. And like, yeah, you maybe kind of affect change, but it's not really what you were hoping for. I think that's a likely outcome.
I feel like even if they did epic changes, they're not really going to call you up, right? To be like, we just wanted to let you know, like, yeah. So you're kind of doing this knowing it's for the greater good. And that is a selfless thing to know that, like, I'm hoping it can better the future workforce, but it personally cannot and will not really do anything for me.
And I think we've said a lot about like maybe they won't do anything. I feel like that's very cynical of us. I just don't want us to get our hopes up just because the phone call's been made. But having said that, this feedback could actually really genuinely make a difference, particularly if you've got some examples and they relate to a certain person or they relate to a certain, set of problems, and they actually are reviewing all of this and they make a couple of key changes that maybe don't change the world, but the people that come after you have not as bad of an experience. That is really cool that you were able to pass that on and make that change. And props to you for being willing and able to kind of go out of your way to do that. It's very valuable for HR people to have feedback about stuff. Like, you would be surprised, people would be very surprised about how much certain things get talked about. Like, people will come to you and say, oh yeah, but you know what this person's like. I'm sure you've had, complaints, issues, whatever. No, I don't. How does anyone actually know about it unless someone speaks up? Often these things can be like a public little secret. Everybody knows that manager is terrible. Everybody knows that person yells and screams and whatever. Doesn't ever get back to anyone to do anything about it. Like, you'd be surprised.
Good luck. Protect your peace.
Thanks for listening to Interview Boss. If you want to request an episode on your specific conundrum or industry, send us the details. Email us, slide into our Instagram DMs. But if you DM us on Instagram and you're not following, Emma won't be happy and she will judge you.
I really will.
We believe in paying it forward, so if we've helped you, spread the word. You know the drill. Follow, review, find us on Instagram or LinkedIn. It all helps. Or go the old school way and tell someone else about the show. Can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast.